Listen closely. What you are about to hear is not comfort, it is confirmation. This is not motivation, it is revelation. If these words have reached you now, it means something in your love story has already shifted at a level you cannot yet see, but you can feel. My beloved soul, heaven does not announce its movements loudly. It moves silently, decisively, and without asking permission. One moment you believe nothing is happening. The next moment, everything is different. That is how divine change works. Overnight does not mean rushed. Overnight means inevitable. For a long time, you have been standing in emotional uncertainty, questioning whether to hold on or let go, whether to wait or walk away, whether what you feel is intuition or fear. That inner tension was never meant to last forever. Heaven has been watching the imbalance. Heaven has been watching how much you gave, how often you stayed quiet to keep the peace, how many times you chose patience over honesty. And now, the moment has arrived where silence ends and truth takes over. You may not realize it yet, but the emotional weight you have been carrying recently is not a burden, it is a signal. A signal that your soul has outgrown the version of love you were tolerating. The heaviness, the fatigue, the sudden lack of desire to explain yourself anymore, these are not signs of disinterest. They are signs of elevation. My beloved soul, when heaven prepares to change a love story, it first changes the person who has been shrinking inside it. You did not lose love. You lost the ability to accept less than you deserve. That is a sacred shift. That is the moment the universe intervenes. There is a reason conversations feel unfinished, messages feel delayed, and emotional distance feels louder than words. This is not punishment. This is exposure. Anything built on confusion cannot survive clarity. Anything built on convenience cannot survive self-respect. And anything built on fear cannot survive divine timing. You were never meant to beg for reassurance or chase consistency. The fact that you are no longer willing to do that is proof that the old chapter is closing. Heaven is not removing something good from your life. It is removing what could not rise with you. You might notice that your reactions are changing. Things that once triggered anxiety now bring calm detachment. Situations that once made you overthink now feel clear. This is not emotional shutdown. This is emotional mastery. My beloved soul, when you stop reacting, the universe starts responding. When you stop forcing outcomes, alignment accelerates. This is why the change feels sudden. It is not sudden at all. It is the result of every boundary you silently learned to hold, every truth you finally accepted, and every illusion you allowed to dissolve. Heaven is rewriting your love story in a way that removes confusion permanently. That can look like someone stepping up without being chased. Or it can look like someone fading away without resistance. Both outcomes serve the same purpose. Peace. Divine love does not trap you in emotional suspense. It grounds you. It stabilizes you. It brings clarity without anxiety. If something or someone cannot meet you in that space, heaven does not negotiate. It redirects. Understand this clearly. Not every miracle looks like reunion. Some miracles look like release. Some miracles look like finally seeing the truth without pain attached. Some miracles look like choosing yourself without guilt. My beloved soul, the overnight shift approaching you is not designed to confuse you further. It is designed to simplify everything. The mind complicates love. The soul recognizes it instantly. That is why this change will feel quiet but final. There will be no drama. No chaos. Just a deep knowing that something has resolved itself. You are entering a phase where you will no longer tolerate emotional inconsistency. Not because you are hardened, but because you are healed enough to recognize it. Heaven responds rapidly to healed awareness. The moment you stop questioning your worth, the universe stops testing it. That is the law at work here. This is why your love story cannot remain the same. You are no longer the same person who accepted uncertainty as normal. Pay attention to the next few moments in your life. Pay attention to the conversations that arise naturally. Pay attention to the realizations that come without effort. They will not feel dramatic. They will feel obvious. That is how divine clarity arrives. When something is aligned, it does not demand proof. It brings peace. My beloved soul, if something ends, it will end cleanly. If something begins, it will begin effortlessly. That is how you will know heaven is involved. This message is not here to tell you what to choose. It is here to remind you that you are already choosing differently. The overnight change has already begun internally. The external world is simply catching up. Trust that. Do not rush. Do not chase. Let alignment reveal itself. And if this message resonates with the shift you feel inside, support this connection by liking and subscribing, so you remain grounded and aware as this transformation completes. Remember this. When heaven changes a love story, it does not create noise. It creates truth. And truth never leaves you confused. Soulmate Gaia. A proper USA English, Hypromax level, clear full stops, balanced commas, strong pauses, or professional spiritual tone Kusath Leek Raha Hun. Nache Part 2 High, Pura, Lagbag 1200 words, paragraph form, smooth flow, koi line gap nahi, or viewer address limited but impactful. Something profound is stabilizing now, and this stage is not loud, not dramatic, but extremely decisive. This is the phase where heaven stops shaking things and starts settling them. My beloved soul, once divine intervention begins, it does not remain chaotic. It becomes precise. What you are experiencing now is emotional recalibration. Your heart is no longer asking questions out of fear. It is observing from awareness. That shift alone changes the entire direction of a love story. You may notice that your emotional urgency has softened. You are not rushing to fix things. You are not overthinking silence. You are not filling gaps with assumptions. This is not because you stopped caring. It is because you stopped abandoning yourself. Heaven always waits for this moment. The moment when love is no longer your escape, but your choice. When that happens, relationships either align naturally or remove themselves without conflict. There is a quiet strength forming in you now. A kind of emotional gravity that does not chase or pull. It simply exists. My beloved soul, this is the energy that attracts truth. Not promises. Not potential. Truth. And truth does not require effort to reveal itself. It surfaces on its own. That is why you may suddenly see people clearly. Not through emotion, but through pattern. And once you see patterns, confusion disappears. You are entering a state where your nervous system no longer confuses intensity with connection. This is critical. Many love stories fail because intensity is mistaken for depth. Heaven corrects this misunderstanding gently but firmly. What feels calm now is not boring. It is regulated. It is safe. It is real. And real love always feels quieter than fantasy. My beloved soul, your tolerance for emotional inconsistency is dissolving. Not through anger, but through clarity. You are no longer negotiating with red flags. You are no longer waiting for someone to become who they showed you they are not. This does not make you cold. It makes you aligned. Heaven respects alignment more than attachment. You may also feel a strange neutrality toward outcomes. Whether someone stays or goes no longer defines your peace. This is a powerful sign of maturity. It means your love story is no longer driven by fear of loss, but by self-stability. When fear leaves, manipulation loses power. When self-stability arrives, truth accelerates. This is why things may begin to move quickly now. Conversations that were delayed may surface suddenly. Decisions that were avoided may be made without struggle. Or silence may complete itself without explanation. All of these are forms of closure. Closure does not always come with answers. Sometimes it comes with acceptance. Heaven knows when answers would only reopen wounds. My beloved soul, you are no longer in a season of lessons. You are in a season of confirmation. Confirmation of what feels right. Confirmation of what drains you. Confirmation of what stays consistent without pressure. This is why you feel less reactive. Reactivity belongs to survival. Calm belongs to alignment. There may be moments where the absence of emotional chaos feels unfamiliar. Do not mistake unfamiliar peace for emptiness. Chaos trains the nervous system to expect stimulation. Peace retrains it to expect safety. This adjustment takes time, but it is permanent once integrated. Heaven is not preparing you for temporary romance. It is preparing you for emotional sustainability. A love that does not rise and fall unpredictably. A connection that does not require monitoring. A presence that feels steady even when nothing is happening. This is the level your soul has reached. If someone is meant to meet you here, they will not require convincing. They will recognize the shift and respond with clarity. If they cannot, they will quietly drift away. Not as punishment. As alignment. Nothing aligned needs to be chased. Nothing misaligned can be fixed through effort. My beloved soul, notice how your body responds now. Peace feels familiar. Anxiety feels foreign. That reversal is everything. It means your inner world has changed. And once the inner world changes, the outer story must follow. Love cannot remain the same when the lover evolves. You are no longer proving devotion through endurance. You are honoring devotion through discernment. This is what heaven intended all along. Not suffering love. Conscious love. And conscious love begins with self-clarity. As this phase completes itself, you will realize something important. Nothing was taken from you. Everything that left made room. Room for alignment. Room for respect. Room for reciprocity. And when that arrives, it will not shock you. It will feel natural. Familiar. Safe. Remember this, my beloved soul. Love that arrives after awareness does not destabilize your life. It integrates into it. That is what heaven is shaping now. Not a dramatic story. A grounded one. And that is why this change, though quiet, is irreversible. The transformation continues, but now it moves at a deeper layer, one that most people never reach because it requires stillness, and stillness exposes truth. This is the phase where heaven no longer rearranges circumstances, it recalibrates identity. My beloved soul, what is shifting now is not who you love, but how you love, and more importantly, how you allow yourself to be loved. This is where your love story stops being reactive and starts being intentional. You are no longer driven by emotional hunger. You are guided by emotional intelligence. That distinction changes everything. You may feel less emotionally dramatic than before. Less pulled into extremes. Less compelled to prove, persuade, or perform. This is not detachment. This is sovereignty. Heaven does not build lasting love on emotional volatility. It builds it on inner regulation. That is why your nervous system is calming. That is why chaos no longer feels exciting. That is why intensity without safety now feels draining instead of attractive. At this stage, you are unconsciously rewriting your standards. Not the standards you say out loud, but the ones you live by. My beloved soul, lived standards shape destiny. Spoken standards only shape hope. You are no longer saying you want clarity. You are refusing to stay where clarity is absent. That behavioral shift is powerful. Heaven responds to action, not intention. You might notice that you no longer feel the urge to revisit the past emotionally. Old conversations do not replay as much. Old wounds do not demand closure the way they once did. This is because integration has begun. Integration means the lesson has completed its work. Once a lesson is integrated, the soul releases the need to relive it. This is why you feel lighter, even without obvious external change. There is also a refinement happening in how you interpret love signals. You are no longer impressed by words alone. You notice consistency. You notice effort without reminders. You notice emotional availability without pressure. These subtleties were always present, but now your awareness is sharp enough to register them. This is discernment, not judgment. Discernment protects peace. My beloved soul, the universe does not elevate love stories randomly. It elevates them when the individual is capable of maintaining equilibrium within intimacy. Emotional equilibrium is rare. Most people confuse attachment with love. You no longer do. That is why heaven is investing more precision into your path now. Precision reduces repetition. You will not repeat old dynamics again. You may also experience moments where you feel emotionally alone, even if people are around. This is not isolation. This is independence. Independence is the bridge between unhealthy attachment and conscious connection. Heaven uses this bridge to ensure that when love arrives, it adds to your life instead of becoming your life. This phase teaches you something subtle but crucial. Love does not need to be earned through sacrifice of self. Real love recognizes self without negotiation. You are no longer offering your silence as currency. You are no longer trading your comfort for connection. These habits dissolve quietly once awareness matures. My beloved soul, there is a reason your patience feels different now. It is not passive. It is selective. You are no longer waiting because you fear loss. You are allowing because you trust alignment. Trust accelerates timelines. Fear delays them. This is why the universe moves faster now. You may sense that certain people no longer have emotional access to you, even if they are still present in your life. This is not rejection. This is energetic boundary formation. Boundaries formed at the energetic level do not require explanation. They simply function. Heaven prefers these boundaries because they create stability without conflict. At this level, love becomes less about chemistry and more about coherence. Do values align? Do rhythms align? Does peace remain intact? These questions guide your heart now. Not intensity. Not nostalgia. Not potential. And because of this, you will no longer feel pulled backward emotionally. The past loses gravity once the future gains clarity. My beloved soul, this is also the phase where self-trust solidifies. You stop doubting your intuition. You stop asking others to validate what you already know. This internal authority is critical. Love without self-authority becomes dependency. Love with self-authority becomes partnership. Heaven is preparing you for partnership, not survival bonding. There may be moments where the quiet feels too quiet. Where you wonder if something is missing. This is simply your system adjusting to peace. Drama creates adrenaline. Peace creates grounding. The body needs time to relearn safety. Be patient with this adjustment. It means healing is real. As this phase unfolds, your love story becomes less visible to others. Less explained. Less defended. This privacy is intentional. Sacred things stabilize in silence. Heaven protects what it builds by removing unnecessary exposure. Remember this clearly, my beloved soul. Love that requires you to abandon yourself is not love, it is attachment. Love that allows you to remain whole is alignment. You are no longer available for attachment. That chapter is closed. When the next development arrives, it will not feel overwhelming. It will feel steady. When the next connection deepens, it will not feel consuming. It will feel supportive. When the next choice presents itself, it will not feel confusing. It will feel obvious. This is how you know heaven is involved. No urgency. No chaos. No fear. Just clarity moving forward. And once clarity leads, the story cannot collapse again. It can only mature. The movement now becomes subtle, but its impact is permanent, because this is the phase where heaven seals the transformation. Not with emotion, not with promises, but with alignment that no longer wavers. My beloved soul, what is happening now is not visible to everyone, and that is intentional. Some changes are meant to be lived, not explained. Your love story is no longer being shaped by reaction or desire. It is being shaped by self-recognition. When a soul recognizes itself fully, it stops bending for love and starts meeting love as an equal. You may notice that your sense of identity feels stronger than it ever has. You are not defining yourself through another person's attention or absence. You are no longer asking love to give you direction. You are walking in direction, and love must now walk with you or fall behind. This is not arrogance. This is integration. Heaven does not elevate those who abandon themselves to be chosen. It elevates those who choose themselves without bitterness. At this level, emotional honesty becomes effortless. You no longer rehearse conversations in your head. You no longer feel the need to justify your feelings. When something does not feel right, you acknowledge it internally and move accordingly. This inner honesty creates external clarity. My beloved soul, clarity is magnetic. Confusion repels what is real. That is why this phase feels calm but firm. You are also learning that love does not require endurance to be meaningful. Struggle does not make connection sacred. Presence does. Ease does. Mutual awareness does. Heaven is dissolving the belief that love must hurt to be deep. That belief was never truth. It was conditioning. And conditioning falls apart when consciousness rises. This is why you are less tolerant of emotional games now. Not because you are guarded, but because you see through them. You recognize avoidance. You recognize inconsistency. You recognize half-availability. And you no longer internalize these as reflections of your worth. That liberation alone changes your entire romantic trajectory. My beloved soul, this is also the phase where forgiveness completes itself. Not dramatic forgiveness. Not spoken forgiveness. Quiet forgiveness. The kind that releases emotional charge. You stop replaying scenarios. You stop wishing outcomes were different. You accept what was without needing it to make sense. Acceptance is closure at the soul level. Heaven waits for acceptance before delivering stability. You may feel moments of gratitude that seem to appear without reason. Gratitude for lessons. Gratitude for clarity. Gratitude even for endings. This gratitude signals completion. It means resentment no longer holds power. And when resentment dissolves, love becomes clean again. Clean love does not carry emotional residue from the past. At this point, your love story is no longer reactive to timing. You are no longer anxious about when something will happen. You trust that what is aligned cannot miss you. That trust is earned, not imagined. It was earned through experience, disappointment, and growth. Heaven honors earned trust by simplifying the path forward. You may also notice that you attract different kinds of conversations now. More honest. More grounded. Less performative. This is because your energy no longer invites superficiality. People meet you at the level you stand. This applies to love as well. Whoever enters your emotional space next will feel the stability you carry, and they will either respect it or remove themselves. Both outcomes serve you. My beloved soul, this phase teaches you that love does not need to be intense to be meaningful. Intensity often masks insecurity. Depth reveals itself through consistency. Through showing up. Through emotional reliability. Heaven is aligning you with depth, not drama. There is also a strengthening of boundaries happening now. Not rigid boundaries. Fluid but firm ones. You no longer overextend. You no longer abandon your routines, your values, or your peace for connection. Love is now an addition, not a distraction. This balance ensures sustainability. You might experience a sense of emotional maturity that feels almost unfamiliar. Situations that once consumed you now pass without attachment. You observe instead of absorb. This does not mean you are disconnected. It means you are anchored. Anchored love does not drift with every emotional tide. This anchoring allows heaven to finalize what it is building. Whether that is a renewed connection, a new one, or a period of peaceful independence, it will be stable. Stability is the signature of divine involvement. Chaos is the signature of unresolved wounds. My beloved soul, do not underestimate how far you have come. The person you were when this journey began could not have held what is being prepared now. You had to become this version of yourself first. That is why delays happened. That is why lessons repeated. Everything served preparation. Now, the preparation phase is ending. The structure is in place. The emotional foundation is solid. Whatever unfolds next will not require you to shrink, chase, or compromise your truth. It will meet you where you are whole. This is how heaven completes a love story transformation. Not with noise. Not with urgency. With quiet certainty. And once certainty arrives, it does not leave. The shift now moves into its most refined expression, because this is the stage where heaven no longer corrects behavior or reveals truth, it stabilizes destiny. My beloved soul, what you are experiencing now is the quiet authority of alignment. Nothing needs to be forced anymore. Nothing needs to be questioned the way it once did. Your love story has crossed a threshold where confusion no longer has permission to exist. That alone is a profound transformation. You may feel an unfamiliar sense of emotional independence settling into your life. Not distance. Not isolation. Independence. This is where love is no longer used to regulate your emotions. You regulate yourself. Heaven requires this level of inner stability before it allows anything lasting to remain. Without stability, even blessings become burdens. You have learned this through experience, not theory. That is why this phase feels grounded instead of euphoric. At this level, you are no longer emotionally available for dynamics that require you to dim yourself. You do not argue for clarity. You do not negotiate for effort. You do not compete for attention. My beloved soul, the moment you stop doing these things, the universe marked you as ready. Ready not for intensity, but for consistency. Ready not for potential, but for presence. You might notice that your intuition feels sharper and calmer at the same time. It does not scream. It does not rush. It simply informs. This is intuitive maturity. Heaven communicates through calm certainty, not emotional spikes. When intuition matures, decision-making becomes clean. You no longer linger in indecision. You feel when something aligns, and you feel when it does not. There is also a deep restructuring happening in how you view commitment. You no longer see commitment as endurance or sacrifice. You see it as mutual choice renewed daily through action. This understanding changes the kind of love you attract. Drama cannot survive here. Games lose relevance. Only sincerity remains functional. My beloved soul, you may realize that you no longer fantasize about fixing anyone. You no longer imagine who someone could become. You accept who they are now. This acceptance is not resignation. It is wisdom. Heaven cannot build a future on imagined versions of people. It builds on reality. And reality is what you are finally honoring. You may also experience moments where your past feels distant, not painful. Distant. This distance is healing integrated. The emotional charge has dissolved. Memory remains, but attachment does not. That is completion. Completion allows new chapters to begin without contamination from the old. At this point, your standards are no longer defensive. They are natural. You do not enforce them aggressively. You live them quietly. People either align or fade. This ease is a sign that you are no longer operating from fear of abandonment. Fear has been replaced with self-trust. Self-trust is the foundation heaven builds upon. Without it, love collapses under pressure. With it, love expands without resistance. You are now capable of holding love without losing yourself. That is why this phase feels steady instead of overwhelming. My beloved soul, there is also a subtle shift in how you experience desire. Desire is no longer urgent. It is intentional. You want connection, but you do not need it to feel complete. This changes the entire dynamic of attraction. Neediness repels. Wholeness attracts. Heaven aligns you with wholeness before it aligns you with partnership. You may notice that silence no longer feels threatening. You do not fill it with assumptions. You do not chase reassurance. Silence now feels neutral. Sometimes even peaceful. This means your nervous system has recalibrated. Safety is internal now. That is rare. This internal safety allows heaven to finalize the external story. When safety is internal, relationships become places of sharing, not survival. That is the kind of love you are being guided toward. Whether it arrives through renewal or through someone new, it will feel familiar in its calm. My beloved soul, you are no longer attracted to chaos disguised as passion. You recognize that true depth feels grounded, not volatile. This discernment protects your future. It ensures that whatever love remains in your life now is built to last. You may also feel a growing sense of neutrality toward timelines. You are not asking when. You are not waiting anxiously. You trust that alignment unfolds naturally. This trust removes resistance. And where resistance dissolves, flow begins. This is why things may feel slower on the surface but stronger underneath. Heaven is reinforcing foundations, not rushing appearances. Foundations determine longevity. You are being prepared for longevity. My beloved soul, understand this clearly. You did not lose time. You gained clarity. You did not lose love. You refined your capacity to receive it properly. Everything that unfolded brought you here. And here is where love becomes sustainable. As this phase completes, your love story will no longer feel like a question mark. It will feel like a statement. Not loud. Not dramatic. Certain. Certainty is the signature of divine alignment. Once it arrives, it does not waver. This is the completion of preparation. Whatever unfolds next will not test your worth. It will reflect it. And that reflection will finally feel like home. Type Amen.